Well, like you, Nancy, I'm excited to see what I'm going to say. Speakers know what I'm talking about, don't you? Not on.
Wait, it's on.
Yeah, I'm on. We'll just a little closer like that. Okay. Turn this as a titch like that. Okay. So good morning. As I pray, my love goes deeper. And the deepness we're talking about is that deepness that is symbolized by this one light. This light represents love. It represents our unity, our oneness in each other. And so that's going to be what I'm going to really be talking about today. The powers of order. And the theme is pray and order first things first. And one thing I wanted to mention, this last week I believe it was the World Day of Prayer. And on November the 9th, we're going to be having a prayer workshop here after the service. And I'm hoping that workshop is about allowing us, helping us to take that love deeper, to take our oneness deeper. So I invite you there because we can all be quite insecure around these processes that we call meditation and prayer. But they're important tools, and which I'll talk about later. So what is the connection between order and prayer? There can be a lot of connections, but what I want to talk about is order. And what I'm going to say, I think, is very, very key to what we're about. Now the world, their belief in God grows, I think, oftentimes by the beauty of this world, the amazing aspects of our interrelatedness. As they go deeper in science, just, the whole chemistries of our body and of the earth, the movements in the heavens, we end up going, wow, there must be a God, because this is so amazing. It's so mathematical. But when all of a sudden we're in times like we are now, when we see suffering around us, when we see people without homes, when we see people being killed around the planet, then all of a sudden our faith becomes shook. How does this fit with a loving God? How can a loving God possibly allow this to happen? I talk about mystics every time. And when I use that word mystic, there's different words. Some systems they use the word saint, but in Catholicism, saint means different than the way I talk about saint. The mystics, what I'm referring to, are beings that come from the realm of pure spirit, beyond mind, beyond the astral region, beyond the causal region, place of coming from pure spirit. And they say that there are two orders, that there are two realities. There's this that we experience here, but the problem with this particular one is based on laws of change. Opposites, light and dark. Everything's in a constant flux. There's really no rest here. You're constantly having to adjust to changes in the weather, changes in our moods and our feelings with each other. And the big one is that in the physical reality, the entire physical universe is under the same laws. And it's basically the law of birth and death. things are being created, and at the same time in the process of dying. And because of this, we can never really truly be happy. We're always carrying the anxiety of death, the losing of things, losing of loved ones around us, losing of things that are important to us, maybe systems that are precious to us. And so what they oftentimes say, well, also the other reality is the reality of spirit, the reality of who we truly are. And what we're doing here is gently opening ourselves more and more, learning to let go of this illusion that we're separate, that we're individual bodies in this room, and allowing ourselves to merge back into our wholeness. The mystics a lot of times say that this is a prison. Mainly because this reality keeps us from the reality of our wholeness. And they say that we're not here to help make this place better. Now, love is always here. But they don't tend to come. Jesus didn't come to change the world. And that kind of frustrated a lot of people at that time. You know, because they misinterpreted what those terms meant, the Messiah. And so they never come to try to change. Because what that's doing, that's making this real. They're here to teach us how to release what we think is real, so that we can experience more and more our truth, our oneness in spirit, our oneness in this light, that going deeper and deeper. So the challenge of this journey is that we're moving from what we think we see to what we're told is our truth, which you can't see. And so it's a process of moving from into that darkness, into that unseen. And we need a light. And that's what Jesus came to bring. And that's what all these mystics come to bring. They're here to provide a light for us. Basically faith. To move into the darkness, to confront all those fears that are in us. This world around us, all the things we see are symbols. They're symbols of that belief that we're separate. And out of that comes fear. There's no way we can get rid of that conflict until we heal and become whole within ourselves. And not just within ourselves, but within our minds. And that's what I want to emphasize also. But let me first, from one mystic, this one was living back in the mid-1500s. His name was Arjan Dev, not that that makes a whole lot of sense. And he said, "Hearken to what the saint says. It is the truth, nothing but the truth. For they speak only of what they have seen and experienced with their own eyes." And I find that this is extremely important because we need the guide. If we want to go to the truth, we need guidance that comes from the truth. And even though sometimes we have that, sometimes it's very difficult because it's gotten misinterpreted. All of them have become misinterpreted and misunderstood because we try to understand these things from this place of thinking this is real, from a place of thinking I'm a body and you're a body and you're separate. And so that's why we need beings that come. And for that moment, they're helping us develop some faith in that there's a reality beyond this one of separation and fear. Years ago, I came across some information about holograms. And it was talking about that at one time they used to make these cards that were holographic cards. And what was interesting about them is if you took a card and you cut it in half, both halves would have the same image. And you cut those in half, they have the same image. You could keep cutting it 9 billion times, same image on each piece. And this is what I thought was interesting when I was thinking about this, and then I came across that Jesus had said this in the Course in Miracles. He said, no matter what shape you cut those pieces, the wholeness is still there. No matter what shape we appear, no matter what kind of behaviors we see, the wholeness is still there. And that's our challenge, to open to that truth. Let's see here. All creatures, big or small, are His, and He is the Lord of all. Whom shall I call bad when there is none but He? And the last couple times I've talked, I read from another mystic by the name of Bulleh Shah, and he said a similar thing, and I'm going to just touch a couple of things he said. His last line was, "For the Lord is in every single one." So they're coming to tell us this because we need to hear that truth in order to keep struggling with holding on to that when I'm confronted, when I hear something in the news that terrifies me, when I'm sitting and all of a sudden I find my mind starting to judge. So it's like this morning I was seeing that. My mind started to judge and was like, wait a minute, Michael, you're making all this real. There's only God there. The only way I can heal that fear is by releasing it each moment that it appears in my heart, in my mind. Look on all as holy. Holy meaning whole. Whole in the oneness of who we are. For there are no thieves. So, what we're working with is what they call two minds. There's a mind that we have. Now, this is not our brain. There's a relationship there, but I don't know what it is. But there's two minds. And the mind I'm talking about is when we read about for people that have near-death experiences. They're observing themselves sometimes in some of the situations. They're observing themselves in this situation, maybe in the hospital or dying, whatever it happens to be. So what is that part that's observing? Obviously, it can't be the brain as we know it. There's something about us that is able to observe and know everything outside of this body. So there's a mind. Well, I'll use an example, a movie. If we turn on the projector with just the light, we have a screen of white light. It isn't until we put images across that light that all of a sudden we have images on that screen. And that movie that we're watching is so real. And even though we know it's not real, it's very, very hard. I mean, I can carry some of the feelings from a movie for days, and yet I know it wasn't real. It's triggering things inside of me that are still resonating. And so they say that really this life that we're experiencing, this part that's not real, is more like a movie. And we're here to let go gently. The mind that we have, I said there's two minds. One mind is projecting this illusion that we're separate from wholeness, separate from God. The other mind is able to know that truth and see that. It sees through eyes, not these two eyes. These two eyes see duality. But as your mind becomes still, as your mind becomes single, then all of a sudden we start to see what is here in a slightly different way, and it keeps growing. All of a sudden, we're not separate. All of a sudden, I'm not more important than you are. But I'm very attached to that identity, and that's what creates my struggle. That identity of me, that idea that you're separate from me. I have to keep every moment. I have to keep working with that. So the key thing is changing our mind. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to change the world, because that world is going to keep changing constantly, no matter what we do. I mean, we see moments, right, of love, of change. And then all of a sudden, something else is there. And it just constantly. I mean, think about how many times in the last 120 years, there's been annihilations of whole groups of people. Not just the Holocaust, but all over the world. We have some going on right now, trying to annihilate a particular group, taking away their language, etc. So the change is the changing of our mind, because the wholeness and the oneness is always here. It's our truth. This is from a mystic. It says, if there's any obstacle between the soul and the Lord, or God, it is truly our mind. Guru Nanak, another mystic from the 1500s, said that he who conquers the mind conquers the world. In other words, remember we said that mystics say that this world is an illusion of separation. And then there's the reality of our wholeness, our oneness, the love that holds all of us and holds all of this all the time. So as I subdue the mind that thinks that we are separate from God, all of a sudden, I conquer this world, because this world is a part of that illusion. All physical creation is a part of the illusion. None of it. Remember, we're spirit. And the physical is not spirit. We're here to release this physical, not judge it. Not judge it. It's interesting. Ironically, we have to hold it all in love. We have to hold it all in its truth. Remember that the whole is in every single part. If you subdue your mind, you not only subdue the whole creation, but you also win the Lord. This was from the 1500s. Again, my mind wants to rebel against this. So the struggle is in every moment. I'm going to read from something from the book. It's called Love, and there was a book called The Disappearance of the Universe, and it became a trilogy, and this is one of the books in that trilogy. And basically that was brought in order to help us understand the Course in Miracles more deeply, because the Course in Miracles can be very, very challenging. And so, on changing the mind. You will never find spiritual sight with the body's eyes, but by the way you think. So it's not changing what I'm seeing this way, it's changing my mind. And by changing the mind, my eyes will see differently, because there'll be different eyes. And I've shared with you some experiences that I've had, even when I was 10 years old. You know, I remember having this experience of near death, and I'm observing my body. I'm observing this 10-year-old child. And I wasn't that 10-year-old child that was observing it. And I could not relate to that child that had been me a moment before. That child was struggling to stay alive because it was being pinned to the bottom of the sea. But when I was separated from that for a moment, there was no struggle. There was no attachment. I was feeling a joy and a bliss that I go, whoa, you know. And so think about every being on this planet when we go through maybe tragedies. We go through horrific experiences. That's the body. But they're not the body. And maybe they quickly realize, like I did as a little 10-year-old boy who knew nothing. All of a sudden, it's like I realized I wasn't the body in that moment. I wasn't suffering. Now, my parents would have suffered if I didn't make it home that day, you know. But what happened was all of a sudden, I was shot to the surface. Probably because I was put in such a relaxed state, I was no longer struggling to stay alive. And that's what I was doing. Before that happened, I was struggling to stay alive. And so I came to the surface and came home, and my parents never knew about it. I never mentioned it to anybody. I never ever talked about it until I came here. because I thought it would be possibly helpful for who you are and the work that we're doing. So let's see here. Where did the body, okay. The mind must be trained to choose consistently that which cannot be seen. And so that's what we come here. We're helping each other. We're supporting each other in our love, in our repetition, to make a new choice, make a new choice. So, yes, our love wants to change the world and change the conditions and change the situation. And we can hold that in love. Our ability, as we start to let go of the realness of this, we actually grow in our capacity to love. The ego thinks that if I let go of the physical, I've let go of love. It's not that way. It's just the opposite. Remember, this is the oneness that we talk about also is love. We've been told that. God and love are one. There's no separation there. So this journey is really about opening to love and releasing the judgments. Prayer. Prayer is a powerful tool that we can use in this journey. And meditation is a powerful tool that we can use in this journey. Because it's not, with the meditation, we're stilling the mind. And as that mind becomes stiller and stiller, our perceptions start to change. And no matter how we came into this world, we all have different kinds of minds. Some of our minds jump around a lot more than others. But you remember, this is about love. Your truth is love, and you're being held by love. So there's no lack and no weaknesses in any of us. If we have a mind that jumps around, we just ask for help from love, from the wholeness of spirit, the wholeness of who we are. And we'll be helped. There's no limits here on this journey to any of us, because we're all being pulled. The whole of creation's being pulled back into its oneness. The kid that hot rods down the street, he's just maybe in a different set of experiences, but he's on the same journey because the wholeness is within him. Also with prayer, there's no right way. Prayer it can be all kinds of things, but even the prayer of a small child, the innocence, just turning to something that I can intuitively feel. The child knows love. And so that innocent prayer of love from a child, even if it's ritualistic, because that's what it's been shown by the world around it, it's just as powerful as any other love, any other prayer. So there's no really right ways. It's a tool. The tool can grow. Our abilities can grow in use of that tool. But there's no right way. Each of us, we have our own unique journeys. We each bring unique tools in that process. And so part of prayer and part of meditation, especially with prayer, it's be willing to experiment. Experiment. Listen to what your being is telling you on your journey and experiment. I mean, that's one of the things that was really powerful about Unity is those two people, the Fillmores, they heard something as the Eastern thoughts started coming to the West in the 1800s. They heard something, and instead of just hearing it and going home and having it an intellectual thing, they thought, I want to apply that. I want to start to use that. And there wasn't much teaching. They had to experiment. And they experiment in their lives with those understandings. And they grew. They grew and they grew. And they weren't done when they died. So we're here to continue. Don't limit ourselves by what has been told us. Keep trusting yourself. Keep growing. Keep experimenting. Bring your understandings and share it with us here. In the Song of Prayer, which comes out of the Course in Miracles, it's the last two things I'm going to share here. It's talking about prayer. And it said, what God created, one must recognize its oneness. So as a chaplain, when I'm in prayer with someone, in the beginning when we started it, it was terrifying. What would I do if one of you had cancer? You know, what would I do if one of you had a husband that just brought a red sports car. The cancer was a little scary. Not for her. We know it's going to happen to him, but so it's taking those situations and going, wait a minute. And it says here, illusions, okay. Rejoice that what illusions seem to separate is one forever in the mind of God. And so when I'm in prayer with them, my work is to spend time in my own prayer to get to that place where I can feel that there's only one mind holding all of us. And so then when I hear and when we share what we're going through, that's an opportunity to take that fear and bring that fear to that truth, that we're not separate, that we're safe in that oneness, that I need to change my mind. And I can release it because I'm reminded as I go deeper in that prayer process that none of this is real. This is how I can forgive it. I forgive the characters on the stage of life because the characters that are being played, remember the wholeness is within each one of them. The actor inside is that wholeness in each of us. So I can forgive what I see. Easy? No. And it doesn't happen one time. Sometimes it's 10 times, sometimes it's 100 times with certain kinds of issues. But it's bringing it back to that truth that you and I know, that we talk about every Sunday, that our whole service is focused on. And so think about our focuses and allow them to go deeper. Remember last time I think I was here, I said, we talk about, I and God are one. But that doesn't mean that there's I and there's God. It just means that I is gone. There is only the oneness. And that becomes our experience as we go deeper in our truth. And I'll finish off. Yeah, let's see here. People have to remember that events in a dream do appear to happen. That movie on the screen in the theater is really real. In fact, when I step out of it, if I have to go to the restroom, it's sort of like walking into another field or something like that. It's just a shock. So this does appear real. But it doesn't mean that it is real. That screen in the theater, that movie, those images, they're not real, and I know that. Now I'm learning to know that this is not real, that you and I are not separate. And thank you. And now we'll take a little bit of moment just to be in prayer, to go into so just come down into yourself. Be with yourself. Slowly start separating ourselves from that intellect, from that mind of separation and fear. And gently breathe and relax. There is truly nothing to fear. We're relaxing into that divine oneness that is holding us in our truth, always, so that we may know that truth. So breathe and relax and open. Turn the challenges, turn the fears, turn the struggles over to the oneness of who you are, the wholeness of who you are, the wholeness of your spirit, that is within you and that is always connected to the oneness of who we are. Let's open in that truth to every person in this room. Just breathe and open and accept that we are not these bodies, that we are much more, that we are spirit, that we are connected to each other in that oneness of spirit. We are always connected to each other, no matter where we are, no matter the distance. We only have to think and we are connected. We only have to open to that connectedness. And we're here to breathe and to relax into that truth. And our challenge is to hold that truth for every event, for every being that we see, for every moment that agitation arises in my heart, every moment that I feel fear, every moment that I think I'm a victim of an outer world. Every time I see things that I know that at this realm they are not right, they are not correct. I can hold the suffering of this world in my heart because each of us, each individual on this planet, the wholeness is within each of us. That wholeness is our oneness, is our truth. And so as I behold an unusual shape, maybe a terrifying shape, I'm here to remember that none of us are a body, that the wholeness of spirit is within each of us. I can ask for help in holding that shape in its truth. I can forgive it, for what I see with these eyes is not real. I'm gently releasing each moment of fear, releasing it because it's not real, and allowing the love, the wholeness, and the light to be there. And as I do that, each moment, my world starts to become filled with the light as I release each fear as it arises within my heart. Then I start to experience the truth, the love, and the wholeness, and the oneness that we're here celebrating, that our beings know is the truth. We are love and we are loved, and we give thanks. Amen. So stay in that place as much as you can. So as we do the prayer protection, like I said last week, be careful not to get stuck on the wall reading the words. Have a piece of you do that, but stay as much as you can connected into yourself, into your heart, into your beingness as we do this. Because we're here to transform our hearts and to change our minds. So together, The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Whatever we are, God is. All is one. We are one. And now let's form our circle.